budget there on that little animation.
Wouldn't it be neat, though, to have your name on the money?
Yeah. Can you show me some identification? Yes, here's the $1 bill. It's my name on it. Anyway, we're going to be talking about the new economic team. He was the president-elect's first cabinet-level nomination, Senator Lloyd Bentsen, a shrewd Washington insider and a fiscal moderate. Just part of the economic team that Mr. Clinton proposed yesterday, and we'll get reaction from Wall Street and Washington. And we'll get the weather, of course, from you-know-who.
Absolutely. Well, Charlie, as those of us who live in this area know well, a powerful storm is pounding the northeast this morning with heavy rain and snow, high winds and waves, winds gusting 90 miles per hour in Atlantic City this morning. Very little change is likely for the weekend, with snowy, windy weather persisting in the northeastern states. We'll have more details coming up.
I know up in Connecticut, a lot of trees came down. Our electricity went out at 8 o'clock for the rest of the night.
Same thing in northern
New Jersey. It was great.
Jersey.
All we could do was sit around and chat.
Yeah, but the alarm clock worked anyway this morning.
Yeah, I had a backup alarm clock. Denise Richardson, who's been bringing us her stories from Somalia, will show us how a U.S. Marine spends his day there as he patrols the dangerous streets of the capital. Plus, we'll meet the man who says he killed former Teamsters boss Jimmy Hoffa, a mob hitman named Donald Tony the Greek Frankos. First, though, Mike Schneider has the morning's news. Mike?
Thank you, Joan. Good morning, everybody. We begin this morning with Somalia, and actually some hopeful news this morning. The country's two warlord leaders, the two men who've been blamed for a lot of the fighting and looting in the food supplies in and around the capital city of Mogadishu, they held a meeting with the U.S. envoy to that country this morning, Robert Oakley, and in that meeting they agreed to a ceasefire. And perhaps even more importantly, they agreed to put their forces under a joint command this weekend. And there's also new information today about when relief supplies might be getting into an area of Somalia that desperately needs help now. Here's ABC's Linda Patillo.
Relief agencies hoping that the U.S. military would help speed up aid to Baidoa and other areas where people are starving will not get help as soon as they would like. The commander of U.S. troops here met with relief officials for the first time this morning and emerged saying it would be at least a week until the Marines move into Baidoa.
That is our top priority, to get out there as quickly as possible. And I think it's reasonable to expect in the next 7 to 10 days we would have something relatively permanent there. But that's not to say that we will not provide some support for convoy security to help improve the situation in Baidoa as quickly as possible.
Johnston refused to answer questions about the deaths of 2 Somalis last night after French legionnaires and U.S. Marines opened fire on a vehicle at a French checkpoint. 7 others were injured and several were taken by helicopter to the USS Tripoli. Witnesses say there was no gun on the vehicle. The Pentagon says it was an armed technical that ignored warnings to stop. That contradicts an earlier version from the Pentagon that said there was a family aboard and that the brakes failed. Today, UN officials say they are satisfied with the explanation.
General Johnson has assured us, and we're very satisfied as the commander of the task force, as to his explanation.
The big question now, of course, is whether that cautious estimate by General Johnston of when the Marines can actually help out in areas like Baidoa may change. The Marines have been very anxious to get in there. The situation has been somewhat difficult, and now with this news of a reconciliation effort, we're wondering whether this timetable could be moved up. A few more details, Mike, on what they have decided. They say they will end all hostilities and that all technicals, those armed vehicles we have seen so much of, will retire into camps outside the city within the next 48 hours. That could make a big difference on whether the Marines leave this area and start moving out into the countryside.
Linda, we probably should make the point, though, that while these 2 warlords perhaps are among the most important in the country, they're not the only ones there, and they don't control all the weapons, do they?
Absolutely, they do not, Mike. You're right. This is a large country, roughly an area the size of Texas. To the south, there are other warlords. There are still factions loyal to the former government here. There is much work to be done, but this is the kind of breakthrough that the UN forces were looking for. They've been saying all along that only the Somalis could restore peace here, and only the Somalis could get rid of the guns, and only when that happens can the Marines really get down to the business of helping to deliver aid to the people here.
All right, Linda, thank you very much. ABC's Linda Patillo, live again this morning for us at the airport in Mogadishu, Somalia. On to Sarajevo now, where that's another place, of course, the United Nations is trying to get relief supplies in. The fighting there has been so bad, though, over the past week and a half that the airport has been shut down once again. But this morning, the UN said it has talked to the 3 warring factions in Bosnia and that it hopes to get Sarajevo's airport open again, perhaps by early next week, maybe as soon as Tuesday. Back in this country, you saw the campaign, you've seen the transition, now you can say hello to the Clinton administration. The open secret in Little Rock, Arkansas today is that Mr. Clinton is about to name 2 more cabinet secretaries and 2 more senior staffers. Yesterday, it was the turn of the economic team, and ABC's Walter Rogers has details.
With his economic conference scheduled for next week, President-elect Clinton fielded his first team of economic advisors, one aimed at sending a reassuring signal to the financial markets. 4 men and a woman, mostly moderates, all establishment. Senate Finance Committee Chairman Lloyd Bentsen will be Treasury Secretary. Friendly to business, Clinton said of Bentsen,
"In filling this post, I wanted someone who had the unique capacity to command the respect of Wall Street while showing an unrelenting concern for the Americans who make their living on Main Street."
Main Street aside, Benson's chief deputy is Roger Altman, a Wall Street banker. To head the critical budget director's office, Clinton again turned to Capitol Hill, picking Congressman Leon Panetta. The president-elect making light of the fact that during the campaign, Panetta said some of Mr. Clinton's economic ideas did not add up.
I'm going to give him a chance to teach me some math.
Panetta enjoyed the joke, but signaled he's going to hold the new president's feet to the fire.
I think the first priority, and I believe deeply that the governor shares this, first priority is to develop a long-term deficit reduction plan.
Alice Rivlin, formerly of the Congressional Budget Office, will be Panetta's deputy. And the president-elect tapped Robert Rubin for the new White House post that puts the economy on a par with national security. Wall Street's reaction was generally positive.
Most of them have experience in how to get things done in Washington.
Still, some of the thunder may have gone out of Mr. Clinton's economic conference next week, what with yesterday's good economic news. With the recovery apparently continuing, that conference now may turn out to be more cosmetic than substantive. Mike?
Walter, let's talk a little bit about the people who are apparently going to be named today. Run them down, first of all, again. Robert Reich will be named Labor Secretary. He's an old friend of Mr. Clinton's, a professor at Harvard. The University of Wisconsin Chancellor Donna Shalala apparently going to get the Health and Human Services job. Florida environmental official Carol Browner to head the EPA, and Laura Tyson to head the Council of Economic Advisors. What kind of signal or signals is Mr. Clinton sending out with those appointments?
2 very clear signals, Mike. The appointment of Mr. Reich to labor signals Mr. Clinton is endorsing or is creeping close to a national industrial policy, which many people say the United States must embrace to compete with Japan and Germany on the world global economic scene. And of course, the appointment of 2 women, the 2 you mentioned, further makes Mr. Clinton committed to his pledge to make his cabinet more like the overall demographics of America.
Okay, Walter, have to leave it there. Appreciate it. ABC's Walter Rogers, live for us this morning in Little Rock. That is the news till now. It's time to check in with Charlie and Spencer.
Thanks, Mike. And live for us here in the
Picture. Here's a look at the weather where you are.
After the hour, as Mike mentioned, the Clinton economic team is in place. What's it going to mean for Wall Street? What's it going to mean in Washington? What will it mean across the nation? David Jones is joining us. He's the chief economist from the Wall Street firm of Aubrey G. Lanston and Company. And with us from Washington for the political overview is Chris Matthews, political columnist for the San Francisco Examiner. Good to see you both again. David, let me get the Wall Street reaction to the appointments yesterday.
Favorable, Charlie. Moderate group, establishment group. We've already seen the names in public, and so therefore the markets have, particularly the bond market, came down about a 0.5 percentage point. That means mortgage money is going to get a little bit cheaper. We don't have the whole story yet, though, Charlie, because this is only a team. I have a feeling that the quarterback of that team is going to be President-elect Clinton. It's going to be a lot different than the Reagan administration when we had a lot of power delegated to people like this team. I think the quarterback's going to be Clinton. He's going to call the shots.
And since we don't know where he may go, it's still tough to predict what this means for policy?
That's exactly right. For example, since this is a relatively conservative team, since we heard a lot about deficit cutting yesterday, the question is, what are we going to do at the front end of this process? Are we going to see some stimulus to the economy? Are we going to see some spending? Are we going to add to the deficit? My feeling is there's one person that's going to make that decision. It's going to be the president.
All right, we come back to that in a moment. Chris, the political reaction.
Well, I think there's some real political packaging underway here. I mean, Lloyd Bentsen is a great name, as you showed in your graphic, to put on the dollar bill. It suggests power and confidence. Lloyd Bentsen looks like sort of a stern father figure who made a lot of money but is still tight with the checkbook. We saw him very effectively debate Dan Quayle 4 years ago, and the fact was he has been in politics going all the way back to the 1940s. He was a congressman in the late 1940s with Jack Kennedy. He is a political survivor, and I think that's the key point. Bill Clinton likes politicians around him who know how to win elections.
Chris, though, there was a lot of voter dissatisfaction that was expressed in this past election. Every other word that Bill Clinton said during the campaign was the word change. And the first 5 appointments are all either political or Wall Street insiders.
Well, that's right. I think he also said the day after he won the election down in Little Rock, he walked out there with Al Gore with their blue suits on, and the first thing he said as an elected president was, I'm going to assure the bond markets, I'm going to convince them that I'm not going to try anything new. You know, he's only 46 years old. He looks very young. In fact, yesterday on television, he looked very young again. I think he made a point to pick someone older than him as his Treasury spokesman, someone more conservative than him, and someone who's more respected by business than he is. I think he's trying to offset who he is. And I think David Jones is right. We have no idea what policy is going to come out of this package. All we're seeing now is the package.
All right, David, you're nodding. He has reassured Wall Street. He has reassured the bond markets.
Exactly right, Charlie, and I completely agree with Chris as well that I think we're going to see a packaging process. This group is going to say we can sell this policy to Congress, we can sell it to Wall Street with minimal effect on interest rates, but still, look at the group today, much more liberal tinge. Mr. Reich, head of sort of the liberal advisors to the president, is going to get a role in the cabinet, and we never know with the president when they may come in the back door, talk to the president about policy. So what we're going to get here is we're going to have some uncertainty with respect to how Clinton makes policy, but my bet is he's the one that's going to make it, and they're the ones that's going to package it, these new...
And I always trust you on these matters. Do you expect that we'll get the kind of infrastructure spending, stimulus that he talked about, or do you think he'll immediately go after the deficit?
No, I think he'll spend, Charlie. You made the point a minute ago. The president ran on one thing, the president-elect. Change and getting this economy going. He can't turn out like George Bush finally after the election's over and say, well, I'm not going to do anything after I promised it. He has to give the economy a boost. But the trouble is he's going to have to go through an experiment. He's got to spend and create deficits up front, and then he's got to bring them down later. We've never seen any fiscal policy like that before. It's true activism.
And Chris, in the final 30 seconds, he's got a team on the Hill that looks pretty well suited to sell this.
That's right, but I think the front men are the conservatives like Lloyd Benson, Leon Panetta. They're the ones out there to assure that he's not going off in some left-wing direction. But remember, as David Jones said, behind the scenes are the ideologues, a few lefties back there. It's just like Jack Kennedy. Put Douglas Dillon out at the Treasury post, convince business you're a conservative, and then behind the scenes have Arthur Schlesinger and John Kenneth Galbraith.
All right, Chris, David Jones. It's interesting, Chris. The Kennedy connection continues, and the parallels are still there. 15 minutes after the hour, 17 years after Jimmy Hoffa disappeared, meet the mob hitman who says he killed him. When Good Morning America continues.
Now showing
President Jimmy Hoffa. In a new book, Contract Killer Donald Francos, a self-admitted mafia hitman currently serving time for another murder, claims he killed Hoffa and dozens of others as well. Well, Steve Fox recently spoke with Francos at New York's Attica prison.
How old are you?
I'm 54 years old.
Now, how many of those 54 years have you spent in prison?
Oh, I would say about 30 years.
30 out of 54 years in prison?
Yes, yes, Steve.
In the course of your career, how many people did you kill or participate in the killing of?
Well, approximately around 36 to 45 people I killed.
36 to 45?
Yes.
Well,
you lose count after a while.
Huh?
You can lose count, and I lost count. I know for sure 36 people.
It may be as high as 45?
Yes.
Okay. In your book, you claim that a mob boss named Fat Tony Salerno wanted to kill Jimmy Hoffa, and he contracted with you and a couple other guys to do the killing. Why did Salerno want Hoffa dead?
Well, one thing, Salerno was very, very much involved with the unions. Hoffa, when he came out of jail, wanted his position back as president.
Of the Teamsters Union?
Yes, sir. And Salerno, with Tony Provenzano, they got together and he says, this guy, he's going to open up on us. He's going to go to the government and he's going to tell the government what we're doing with the unions.
He's going to tell the government that the mob is involved with
the Teamsters. And Fat Tony says, no way. We got to get rid of him.
Tell me how you killed Jimmy Hoffa. How did it happen? How did you kill him?
We needed Chucky O'Brien. Chucky O'Brien was the one who could make Hoffa at ease, Jimmy at ease.
He was sort of his adopted son.
He was his adopted son, yes. And we went first Fat Tony went to Tony Giacalone, who was a mob boss out of Detroit, and he told Tony Giacalone, he says, listen, we want to get this guy. The only way we could get this guy, you got to talk to this Chucky O'Brien. Lure Hoffa in the car, have Hoffa come to the meet in Mount Clemens, which is not going to be a meet, and get him to Mount Clemens, and we're going to have our hitters over there, and we're going to do away with this guy.
Why would Chucky O'Brien do that to a man who had been good to him?
Well, for number one, he was told to, and if he didn't go along with it, they were going to kill him. We were going to kill him.
Kill O'Brien.
O'Brien, that's number one. Number two, he had no choice. Either it was going to be him or his father.
Okay.
His adopted father.
So Hoffa arrives at the house in Mount Clemens. Then what happens?
Before he got to the living room, he was ready to sit down. We was in the adjacent part of the living room, which is the kitchen area. I walked out with Jimmy Coonan, and I shot him twice in the forehead.
Is it a quick death then?
Very quickly. We didn't want to torture him or anything like that. We're not into that. We hit him and that's it.
After Hoffa was dead, what did you do with the body?
We chopped him up.
Where did Jimmy Hoffa's body, the various pieces of it, eventually end up?
Outside the Giant Stadium. It didn't end up in the stadium. It ended up outside the stadium.
The stadium being Giant Stadium?
Yes, Giant
in Meadowlands in New Jersey?
Exactly.
When you weren't murdering people, how did you make money through crime?
Selling heroin. Selling heroin, stick-ups.
Stick-ups?
Yeah, a lot of stick-ups. Mostly heroin and hijacking. Counterfeit money. Or buying swag, like buying stolen goods and sell it to another person for a profit. Things like that.
Why write the book? What's the point?
I didn't write it for the profit.
Why did you write it?
I wrote it for some young teenager, before he does anything in his life, don't turn to crime, because crime is not all that glorified. It's not, there's no profit in crime. There's profit maybe once or twice, 3 times, 4 times, but then eventually you're gonna lose. And lose big. Either you're gonna get killed or you're gonna do a lot of time like I'm doing. But it's not Hollywood. They're vicious, all cold-blooded killers you're dealing with. And eventually they're gonna kill you or you're gonna do a lot of time.
Steve Fox is here with me now. How much credibility does this guy
Well,
have?
this guy's credibility is very much open to question. We know that he is a convicted killer. We know that the federal government thought he had enough valuable evidence or information to enlist him in the Federal Witness Protection Program. But we also know that he's changed his story at least once about the Hoffa killing. In '89, he said in an interview that he knew where the body was, but that he didn't take part in the murder. Now he says, I know where the body is, and I personally killed Jimmy Hoffa. So the story's changed once already. I guess the bottom line of this is that there's no way to prove or disprove his story unless somebody spends the money to dig up part of the parking lot out there at Giant Stadium in New Jersey.
All right, Steve Fox, thank you.
Gusts of 50 to 60 miles per hour already this morning. LGA, that's LaGuardia, JFK, Newark, places like that, Boston, Logan Airport. If you're going to be traveling into the Northeast, I would maybe pack a lunch a little bit today. You may experience some delays. Snow through Pittsburgh, also some gusty winds down through the south as well. So mainly the delays on the eastern half of the country. For the rest of the country, there is another storm to talk about outside of this. This is the big storm there. Out to the west, you see a big finger of precipitation coming down from the northwest, actually from the north, stretching down into Southern California. And you'll see in the northwest some more rain and some more snow up there. So it's December. These things do happen. Paula?
Thanks, Mark. We're going back to Mogadishu, Somalia now. Dan Rather is just back from Badoa, one of the real trouble spots for the relief effort. He joins us now. Good morning, Dan. What did you see?
Well, good morning, Paula. I, in fact, descended into hell this morning, got back this afternoon. The name of it was Badoa. This is the wild west of Somalia just now. It's been wild for quite a time. A lot of killing there during the last week. It's getting worse. The relief workers are in a kind of Fort Apache or Alamo situation. The incredible things are happening to them at night. Thieves, looters, people with bad things on their mind literally come over the compound walls. They run through the place, try to loot it. They're defending themselves as best they can. They're trying to continue to feed people in feeding centers such as this one. The feeding centers continue to deteriorate because the situation is so bad they can't get food into them. In this one feeding center, we saw no fewer than 5 children who, if they don't get help within the next 24 to 48 hours, may very well die. Now, the Marine Task Force commander said today he thought it would be 7 to 10 days before the Marines get to Badoa. If it's that long, a lot more people up there are going to die. I don't know what the relief workers are going to do. They don't want to be evacuated because they say that would stop their work, and then more people would die of starvation and disease. I tell you frankly, Paul, in all my experience, I have never seen anything to match this. I know I said that the other day when I went down to Kismayu on the southern coast. Kismayu, 100 people have died there, we're told, within the last 5 or 6 days, including many the day we were there. But it's unique to itself. Badoa is some kind of hell, and as I say, if the Marines can't get there for another 7 to 10 days, many of the people we saw today will be dead.
You get the impression from the relief workers that we have been in touch with that the pace of this whole thing has slowed down. Is that the case? Were they counting on help earlier than 7 to 10 days?
Well, yes, naturally, in a siege situation, which is what many of these relief workers in a place like Badoa, they are. I mean, you just can't overstate it. This isn't a John Wayne movie. This is real. This is happening. And, they're back to the wall every evening beginning sundown. No elderly man, woman, or child of any race, creed, color, or religion is safe there. This is the only place I have ever been where they shoot children. Walked through the hospital today, a child with eye blown out, part of his head blown off. The doctor there desperately trying to keep this child alive. Listen, this is if this isn't an apocalypse now, it'll do to one comes along.
What can you tell us about the expected truck convoys that are supposed to be in there in the next 3 to 4 days? Do you have any hope they're going to make it in?
Well, I simply don't know. The road, if you think of the map, Mogadishu on the coast, the road to Badoa, it's about 150 miles as the crow flies, and the road's pretty straight. That road, it's possible to get through. Some shipments of food may get through. The road running from Badoa over to another place in the so-called Triangle of Death, Badera, we were told today is heavily mined. The road's mined, the side of the road is mined. I don't think anything can get through there.
What kind of reaction are you getting to the announced ceasefire between the rival warlords? Does that have any resonance at all at the moment?
Well, yes, it certainly does, and particularly here in Mogadishu. In Mogadishu, spirits are on the rise. Look, there's a lot of trouble here. For one thing, the lawlessness, if anything, has gotten worse everywhere except inside the Marines' perimeter. There's rising tension in the street, fistfights, muggings, sporadic gunshots. Things are getting worse on the streets of Mogadishu. But overall, the Somalis are almost overjoyed that these warlords have said, okay, we're going to try to get it together and help the Americans. But that's in Mogadishu. Out there, particularly west and south of here, the hell continues to just draw an ever-deepening circle.
Dan Rather, thank you, reporting from Mogadishu, Somalia this morning. We'll be right back.